All right. Hello.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast with Woody and Bibs. We are once again recording this at 8:45 tonight.
Yes. Well,
Breakfast
8:45
time.
doesn't actually define at what time we record.
Or what time breakfast is.
I learned this about Europeans. They do their time in 24 hours.
Right.
Actually, I don't know if this is all Europeans. One European did their time in 24 hours. They didn't understand what AM or PM was.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's
Well,
fucking stupid.
it is currently 2040.
That will become less and less relevant the later you listen to this. Yeah, give it 14 years and that joke will make no sense. Okay. Terrible intro.
Oh, we have news.
Yeah?
Is that not what you were going to say?
Yeah.
We have-
I was going to say it, and I got distracted by how cool our fucking thing is.
Oh,
Look,
yeah. So
you're
Habibi
looking at photos.
Habibi has set up open broadcast software. Is that what it's called? OBS?
Yeah, OBS, yep.
And so now we can give you stuff on your screen without filming ourselves, because filming ourselves is in fact a massive pain in the ass
Yep.
for the podcast.
Yeah.
It just means that we have a whole bunch of stuff that is, they're massive video files,
Yeah.
and they're not really that interesting. I'm sure that you guys like looking at our faces, but we have videos for that. So, and today we have some photos.
Got some photos. We have access to YouTube, so if Jamie ever wants to get involved and check out some cool fencing clips, oh fucking Jesus!
Just
Then
smash everyone's
yeah,
faces.
then they can, and we might put some up. So that's really really cool. We have news. So Woody was doing some back end stuff and launched our Discord completely accidentally.
Yeah, that was just a colossal skill issue. I must not have read something properly. When you're setting it up, the Patreon bot lets you like select permissions to give the bot.
Right.
And I gave it permission to send invites because I thought that's how the link things worked. Apparently, if you've got Discord set up on your Patreon account, you're now, if you're one of our Patreons, you're on our Discord.
Right. So it just invites everyone.
Yeah. So if you want to be on our Discord, join our Patreon. Or don't, but like, then you'll only see, I'm going to restrict it so that you can see one general channel, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I've already invited a couple of people to the general channel that I think, like, I've personally spoken with. And if you've got some friends that you would like to be there in the general channel, you think will benefit from having a chat, they are welcome.
You, the listener.
Yeah, you, the listener, not you, Woody. Yeah, it'll be cool. But and then we will have like a subscriber only spot as well. So,
Which is, that is set up, but the rest of the Discord is not set up because I invited people too early. But we're just going to run with it. It's actually been quite nice. We've had some good discussions with our patrons already.
yep.
And someone linked some good resources. So there's a whole bunch of like Italian fencing resources on there now, which was
really, really
awesome.
cool. One of those resources, am I going to name and shame them?
Yeah, I think you can because they're professional.
Okay, so I actually didn't get the author's name.
It's Alberto Pompresi.
Great.
He's from Spain. There's also other people, but I have heard of him already.
Okay, awesome, cool. Well, they did unboxing Fabris, and it was it's.
So we were looking. There's video accompaniments for unboxing Fabris, which I think is a cool concept.
Yeah.
I had a huge tirade to Habibi today about how taking photos of your interp is a colossal waste of time. And because like if you if you don't look like the book, you're wrong. You're just wrong.
Right.
Like if you're doing a plate and your results don't consistently look like the book with a partner that is roughly the same size as you, there's no adjustment made for height, you're just doing it wrong.
Right.
So, in that sense, posting pictures that aren't exactly what is shown is bad. And if you look exactly like the book, I've come around. I think you can shoot super high res where the scans are only so good, and you can just have it look like, you know, modern people, and that can be nice as well. But
I feel like the point, or like the strength that I find in your point being, the pictures were a great medium to convey information in the 1600s and earlier and later.
Yeah.
We have such a better form of visual communication. Every other martial art has been using, like a modern martial art, BJJ uses video to communicate its ideas and techniques all the fucking time. And there's a billion amateurs and pros. They're all using video to talk about it. Rock climbing uses videos, and huge tutorial series built as if they were a 16th century fencing manual, and they're almost exclusively videos because the way that you use your weight and motion and balance,
they're really important.
It's fluid.
Yeah.
It's temporal.
Yeah.
And you actually need to see the transition over time to fully understand what is being shown.
Yeah.
We have that technology now. So using photos, like,
it's okay. I think I've come around slightly in the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think it's okay while you're reading a book, not as the main study, but just to give you a quick visual reference.
Yeah.
And actually, to that degree, I would sort of prefer an illustration.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can artistically represent with more control, and you can actually remove visual clutter.
Yeah.
When you're doing illustrations.
So that is a critique that I have of unboxing Fabris, was that it would compare the plate illustrations with photos they had done
that looked nothing like the plate illustration.
The two were completely different things, and they were like, "Look, these are meant to be the same things. Like, this is our interpretation of this thing." And it's like, okay, well, like, I have essentially no other conclusion to draw. At a glance, these two are different, so
you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like
you can't not draw that conclusion by looking at those pictures.
Right. Like whether or not the actual words themselves, I guess, is what, like this. I don't want to necessarily attack the.
But luckily, they gave us video footage, so we can see what they look like in motion.
And I actually really liked the videos. I thought they were kind of amazing. Because
it's not about to get better.
Okay, so there was a particular video where they're like attacking in third or something, and there's like the defense against someone attacking, whatever, and it begins with somebody in a fully angled guard, right, with their sword found. Anyway, the person with the sword found, believe it or not, is the one attacking in this example. And rather than just getting hit with a straight thrust straight through that huge angle, because their strongs hanging out next to their nuts, like no way able to defend themselves. Instead of just attacking, the defender allows the weak kid get miles deep, right? And they realign their sword so that the strong crosses. They lift their body up so that they get height, and then they descend themselves like down again so that the strong essentially like parries the weak.
Yeah, and then while in strata, and they say that it's in strata, and it is in strata, you can see it, he then takes a step to deliver the thrust.
Yeah.
To just add 2 more tempo is already 2 tempo defense.
And I was saying this to you earlier. I'm going to say it again for the podcast. I actually loved the video because it does achieve everything that you're meant to achieve in fencing. like in a defense.
I actually think that that's reasonable. I think that like there's actually one error. Well, no, okay. There's two errors in the video.
Yeah.
So in the first tempo of the video, when the guy attacks, okay, there's three, but there's only two from the defending person, right? So in the first tempo, we're going to put it on the screen.
Yeah, Jamie's going to get it up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're watching rather than just listening, this is going to come up on your screen. That'll be really fun. So obviously the first error is the guy on the left is attacking with his sword already found.
Yeah, so
he's attacking a found position.
Here, the sword is completely, like, I guess it's not completely found, but it is actually found.
When he goes to attack, he immediately finds a sword.
Yeah, his sword is completely found because his weak is completely in the strong. So this is a terrible attack. First error.
Yeah, that's the first error. But on the guy on the right side of things, so his first error, the guy defending, is he's got the sword bound here, and the guy on the left is attacking. So the fencer on the right should just extend straight, and they should hit the mask.
Yeah.
And that's going to elevate their strong through the weak, progressing their hilt to the crossing point of the blades, which is what Fabris tells us to do. And we will be one tempo in our response, which is what Fabris tells us is good. And it will work because the strong is going to progress through the weak. So it just will work. So that's our first error. And I'm actually able to forgive this one because this is actually one of the hardest things to do in fencing.
Yeah.
It's emotionally really difficult. Mechanically, it's super simple, and so you should practice it till the cows come home.
Yeah. This is like the point of strata drill. Right. Is just drill this idea.
Yeah. So strata drill is a lot of the time, because Habibi and I have done strata drill till our brains have melted, we'll be in motion. So if you just hit play on this just for a second, we'll be in motion and recognize that we're in this kind of found position, and the fencing continues, but we'll get to there and we'll just be launching the attack.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so because this is the right here we see the error. At this point, you can lean directly forward and the strike will land.
Yeah, you will be safe.
And you will be safe. There is no reason at this point to continue to drop the point
or lift the hand.
Lift the hand and continue to secure the sword. The sword is fully secure right now.
Yeah, but
extend directly forward.
I am able to forgive this error because it is actually really, really hard.
And we had a Discord member ask, I suspect they've had something like this where they've got this set up and they're like, I still get hit, and we've experienced this. Okay, Woody and Bibs, this will work. Off I go to sparring, and then you get iced and punished for it. And so now you have a negative response to reinforce the idea, you should never try this, secure the sword more. Yeah. And it's usually because you've done something like have the tip of your sword, dip.
Because you think you're straightening it out and you're actually not. Like the angle that your sword is on. So if you scrub back a little bit, a lot of the time on the podcast, we call something an angled guard. This is what we're talking about. Both of these guys have what we would term an angled guard. Yeah. It's where the point is higher than the hand.
Yeah.
So then if you scrub forward, stop there. This is, fencer on the right also still has an angled guard. I would still term this an angled guard. I would actually still
say that's angled. Yep. But if he was to extend straight, his, like where his sword will land is going to be essentially the partner's like temple, like above their eye line. Like you draw a literal straight line, it's going up.
Right. And this is what I wanted to, this is actually what I was also heading at. Yeah. Is like his sword is on an angle, but he has a straight line that is on target. Yeah. It's just not a flat straight line.
Yeah, it's a flat, like it's a straight line extending, like the continuation of the line of the sword.
Yeah, and the most direct line the sword can now make is one where it doesn't. It's one where it doesn't deviate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so deviation would be any kind of drop.
Well, deviation would be the next thing that happens in this video.
Well, actually, literally the next frame. So if you're watching, and if you're just listening, sucked in, what you're going to see is the point drop right into the... Okay, so this is past, but...
Well, no, but it actually does drop right into the strong. And so there is an opportunity for Fencer on the left to capitalize here because there's too much work going into controlling the sword.
Yeah.
There was no need to take your weak past their strong.
Yeah.
And that is the explicit stimulus for some of the angled and crooked positions. If you're Fencer on the left and you suddenly make your sword horizontally in front of your chest, like we see Fabris's second guard where he holds the sword in front of his chest, that is going to kill that lowered position. Fencer on the right is going to have no opportunity to attack, and then you'll be able to move forward and create your own new extension. So there's no need to go low here. That's our next error.
Yeah. Jamie's jumping all over the place. He's too excited with the camera.
We don't need to have these guys up anymore.
Yeah. Right. And so what I find really cute about, like, again, here we're dropping down. We're again securing in exactly the right way.
Yeah, but now we have a free week. We've got this.
Right. And we're in strata and we can just lean forward and have our strike.
Yeah.
And here we take the most beautiful step I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, he does this one on a lean. The rest of, I swear to God, the rest of them on are a step.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, there we go. Here. Maybe not. I don't know. I swear they're all on a step. Maybe we're cooking.
Maybe we hallucinated.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let's jump back here. I love the video though, because it really helps me to identify essentially what their interp is and the full interp. If it was just the pictures and just the words, I would have been like, this is terrible. This is really bad interp, because it wasn't conveying anything cleanly in a way that is helpful for a modern reader. Like, the old books are bad for modern readers.
Yeah. That's why a project like Unboxing Fabris is valuable and good.
And exciting. And why, like, I mean, I remember when this was getting kickstarted and it got my interest. I was like, man, this is really cool. If someone can actually give a modern reader an access point into these old books.
Yeah.
And the book itself, I'm sure I haven't actually gone through all and like read it all. But as far as having a quick glance through, all it seems to be doing is just providing another layer of confusion on top of what is already a very confusing medieval text. Well, you know, Renaissance text.
Is Fabris Enlightenment era? Someone will tell us in the comments.
No, it'll be Renaissance. It's 1600s. I think Enlightenment is until 1800s. Isn't it? I might be full of shit.
Jamie, pull that up. You have to do it.
Jamie's not that good yet. Yeah, look, Jamie doesn't know how to switch scenes.
The Enlightenment began in the late 17th century. So cited as 1685 according to Google's AI overview.
Well, that's probably fucking bullshit.
This is why I thought it started in the 17th century though. So it is firmly Renaissance for Fabris.
Fair enough.
Which I had thought, but then I second guessed myself because I'm not a smart man.
Right, but so yeah, as far as a book, it was just comparison pictures with illustrations that were already done.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm getting more detail from the illustrations. Like the people that you've got demoing. And I understand why this is in fact necessary. Like, they're clothed, so I can't see any of the muscular activation.
Yeah.
So I actually don't have any. I have much
Which
less
is why
detail.
when we do it,
we're going to be butt naked. Yeah.
Maybe.
Which one is our subscribe to our Patreon?
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, and then you get the butt naked photos of fencing.
No, we'll do the Giganti image. He's got like this. If they're balls forward, they've got trunks on.
Yeah.
If it's butt facing,
Yeah.
you can see the whole
You
butt.
can see the whole butt. Yeah, ideal. Yeah, you just want like the Tarzan trousers, you know. It's a little leaf at the front.
loincloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a couple of big fig leaves.
Yeah.
In my case, just a really small fig leaf will do.
Yeah. Yeah, no need for a second one but on the back.
No.
You won't need it. Anyway, the videos are cool because the videos were a saving grace, is what I wanted to say.
Right, because when you're looking at the pictures, you're just not getting that much information from them. They're not providing any new information, and they're providing worse information.
Yeah.
Whereas with the video, you can at least see what the logic is, what they're going for, like what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And also what is good about it.
Yeah.
Like what is good about what they're showing.
Yeah.
And there are good things. We are seeing
really good things. And it made me want to kind of talk about the idea of securing the opponent's sword. You and I have glossed over the idea of securing the sword. I actually think that this exists as a bugbear out in the community, that you have to secure it because like the opponent's sword does just kind of smash you in the head all the fucking time. Like without warning, for no reason. Just get good at fencing. A little. Right, but again, and this is the thing, like we've just glossed over it because we're not experiencing this anymore. Well,
Right.
You haven't been for a while. I haven't been experiencing this anymore. You know, we've got the secure attack. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But even before then, just understanding the strong and weak and the straight extension. And like my first kind of conclusion is, like I can parry now every time. I'm not getting smashed randomly in the head.
Yeah. If I'm getting hit, I usually know exactly what I've done.
Yeah.
And to the point that it's like I was fencing with Mosh on Thursday and we're having a really good bout. And it was really fun. And it was like almost, I could tell that he probably wasn't being annoyed, but like he would hit me and then I'd be like, oh yeah, that's because I did this thing. Because I did know exactly what I'd done that had gotten me hit.
Yeah.
But like I knew it to the accuracy that it was sort of maybe taking the wind from his sails at like,
Yeah, like I bested it.
yeah. It's like, no, I did this goofy thing at the wrong time. And so you had this tempo here and I know where I put my strong in the wrong spot or something.
Yeah.
And like, I knew exactly why I was getting hit. And that is kind of the value.
Right. Well, and because I guess there's sort of two things, like when you're prepared and when you sort of know what's going on, even when the unexpected hits come through, you actually sort of know that they're still coming because you're like, all right, well, this move is about to be dicey. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes
What's gambling really costing you?
You fucking get smashed in the head. And you're like, all right, well, I knew that one was coming.
yeah, like sometimes you'll like chuck a leg cut and you'll be like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was fencing one of the beginners on Thursday, and when I fence beginners, I try to be serious, but if I've done 10 to 15 exchanges where I walk in into distance and hit them, it's like, okay, I'm going to goof around. And I immediately started as soon as I started goofing around, boom, immediately I've been hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, fair enough. I didn't find your sword.
Right. Right.
Like, I didn't try to find your sword, and I was trying to waltz into distance, and that's on me. I messed that up because I was just working on like a footwork thing.
So we've got the secure attack. What about just being secure as a concept? This is what I was thinking about today. What is it actually that has brought me security?
Right.
Because chasing a find is not actually keeping me secure. Oftentimes, trying to hold on to the find that you've gotten is going to make you less secure. So, I guess, what are my tenets of security in fencing? Number one, I'm just launching into this.
Please.
Number one, is distance. So my distance is always, and I think this is for everyone, distance is the number one defense.
Yeah.
And kind of knowing, like, it doesn't need to be an exact science, but roughly knowing where your opponent's, like when your opponent is able to sort of hit you, how far away. If they're kind of a tall person, you can be like, oh yeah, that's probably like going to be a long strike. So I'm just going to be fairly bit away. And if I ever feel like I'm starting to get too close, you know, if they look on guard, I might ready up a little.
Yeah.
And and then my next security comes from looking at their sword and kind of putting my strong, not my sword, specifically the strong half of my sword, roughly in the way of where I think their extension will be.
Yeah.
So if they're Rob Childs and they have, you know, they're like fucking low guard fencer, you know, and they're kind of looking like they're springing into, I'm going to have my sword in front of me, kind of out away from me, and the strong half kind of covering the lower sort of hip region of my body.
Yeah.
If I reckon that I'm in a danger zone.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to be in that spot if I am ready to receive some kind of attack.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to be kind of relaxing or trying to come up with a plan or work out how to do my next step from that spot. I'm going to have done that before. And in all of these ways, you have security of the sword. Then, because you have all of those things, what am I trying to say here? This is going on. You don't need to chase a more secure. You know what I mean? You don't need to chase.
You don't
security.
need to win more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chandler and Louis were in Sawyer's Discord. Sorry, it's unfortunately meaningless to people who don't know these people. They were talking about like card games, and in card games like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, you have this concept of like win more cards. And it's where you're already in a good position of advantage, and then instead of like, or you're not doing great, I guess. And this is the point. It's like if you're already winning, you're winning, and if you're doing poorly, having a card that helps you win more only when you're winning is not a valuable card to have in your deck. That's kind of the point.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, because you've already won. So having something that is conditional on having already won, is pointless now.
You need cards that help you be in a winning position.
Yeah,
and then you need some capitalization.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
Yeah.
I have given you. So Sawyer sent me footage of his sparring at SoCal with Tanner. Tanner has a YouTube channel. You could subscribe to him. It's T-Bone Hema, and it's all sparring footage.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to do a huge
shout out on your channel, but
more to do with sorry to do a huge subject jump. Sawyer sent me the footage because he wanted me to have a look at it and see what I could help him with.
Right.
So, and the thing that jumped out, so Sawyer's fencing is really, really good, and it's very secure.
I'm going to have this play for all the people that can't listen.
Yeah.
It's at 0.25 speed. No, it's not. Tanner's just a editing master.
And so, like, it's really good footage, and Sawyer's going, how do I get better from here?
Right.
And what I noticed was that sometimes he's recognizing that he's not secure, and he's forced to either move away or rely on his partner making a mistake that doesn't capitalize on him being insecure while in distance. Mm-hmm. And when you're a good fencer like Sawyer, especially one with reputation, a lot of the time people don't continue to attack like that. And so you get these little moments of freedom, but they're not secure.
Yeah, and they're also not everyone else's experience. Like,
Yeah.
you really do get the winner's glow as
Yeah, and
like,
it slows people's decision making down.
Yeah.
Because you see Rob Childs make a mistake and you go, is this a trap?
yeah.
And you miss that tempo.
Like as hashtag mid fencer, personally, I often don't get the opportunities that you've spoken about where like people go like, oh, you know, they don't know what to do. Like people often will just kind of launch attacks at me until they get punished.
Yeah.
And more recently, I've been able to punish people. So my experience at the IDES Sabre competition was smacking somebody 4-5 times in the leg
Yeah.
in a row
It was great.
before they stopped charging me down.
It was so glorious.
They literally were trying to go body to body in their charge at me, and it took fucking 5 leg hits in a row. And then when I went for
What's gambling really costing you?
and then I would take an insecure position that they would charge, and they suddenly didn't.
Yeah.
And then I got this glorious moment that Woody's talking about, this kind of like hesitation where you can just sort of do something insane,
Yeah.
and you don't get punished for it. And so you earn that either through sheer smashing somebody or
Have a huge HEMA rep.
have a massive HEMA rep, which kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. So it can be a little bit difficult to pick out of the footage. If it's just playing at the moment, so you should be
Yeah.
able to see it. It can be a bit difficult to pick out of this footage, but there are a number of points where Sawyer can't go forward because he's really good at having his sword straight, and he's quite new to the concept of having his sword held offline,
Yeah.
particularly as a way to set up thrusts.
Yeah.
So it's really good to have the crooked positions to set up cuts. Whether or not the crooked position sets up a cut or a thrust is mostly a function of distance and what the extension is going to feel like. But and like if you're a Lichtenauer guy, then you would know that the 5 cuts can all slice, cut, and thrust. Right? So they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Where we've got these crooked positions that extend, and then but depending on where we are, we land with the point or we land with the edge.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen by chance, though. I think there's a version of that interp that's like, oh, you just throw your overhow and sometimes it lands with the point. And it's like, no. You see the distance that you're at. You see that you have the opportunity to extend. And so you make the modifications required to make it a thrust, or you make the modifications required to land with the edge.
Yeah.
With efficacy and like control
Yeah.
of your action.
Yeah.
I personally also don't really care about control as it regards to keeping your partner safe. I do a little bit, but I care about control more so in regards to it keeping you safe. If you've got better control of your actions, you're more in control of the fencing, you get hit less, you're safer. Goal achieved. Martial fencing. I forgot that one was there.
So much better than I remembered. Brought me so much joy. Wait, well, okay. You do actually advocate control for your partner's safety.
I do.
In that, how do I put it? There's 2 camps. Although it's mostly been sorted out these days with Bohurt. There was back in the glory days, or the dark ages, depending on how you want to remember them, a group of people that wanted to kill each other doing HEMA.
Yeah.
And
None of them killed each other, so they mustn't have been very good.
And anyway, a lot of those, like that kind of attitude has shifted to the sport of armored combat, which is kind of where that attitude belongs, where it's like, if you don't want to consider the other person at all, then the protection gear is actual armor.
Yeah, it just is actual armor.
And that's great. That's actually really cool. Like that. Good on them. fencing does require some level of
regard for the person's safety.
like a little, and it's like things like, you know, we're not pommel striking, we're not, you know, whatever. And
We like flexible swords.
yeah, like we've been going for lighter, more flexible swords that are still acting like swords.
Yeah, so great time to shill Marty's Siggy Simple.
Again.
So
He's good.
Absolutely got his value for money at this point.
It's getting more. Right. But with all that said, hitting hard and hitting fast is not actually strictly control. I think that it's, again, sort of substituting. It's sort of weirdly exactly the same camp as the Spanish guys that we had talking about earlier for unboxing Fabris, of trying to win more, trying to control the sword, trying to get security. Like, weirdly, I do suspect that acting really fast and hitting really hard to go through parries and to get through strikes is kind of just a response of like fear of just, I don't have control of the situation. But the benefits of going really fast and really hard is that
You're in danger for less time.
you're in danger for less time, right? And if you go really fast, you can your strong will probably most of the time clear through someone's weak before they get enough of their strong in the way.
Yeah. So if you're really addicted to going super fast in your fencing, and I would suggest that you talk to like a child trauma psychologist.
That was so rogue. I really thought you had a serious point coming up.
I kind of do. I'll get there. What you're talking about is actually just a feeling of insecurity, and it's usually like instigated by fencing related trauma.
Yeah. Right. Like I put my sword out, and then someone, even though I should have had all the advantage, someone just blew through it and smashed me in the head and kind of hurt.
Yeah.
And it was bad time. Like, it was surprising and bad.
Yeah. I think this is a really good argument for filming, especially if you're really early into your HEMA journey. But actually, at any point in your journey, it's a really, really good idea to be filming your fencing, so that once you've subscribed
Subscribe to our Patreon.
you can join our Discord and send us your fencing footage. But the point I actually want to make is that when you're on the receiving end of that experience of like, I've got my position of advantage and I keep getting hit, and my positions of advantage should be working. So when you're in that scenario and you keep getting hit, that's going to feel really bad, because the only thing that you have for that information is your experience, unless you film it. Then you film it. You can start to see why you're getting hit. And if you can't see why, your coach can see why.
Yeah.
And your coach can help you make sense of it, or we can help you make sense of it. Yeah. This is kind of my fucking job. Like,
yeah.
So
film everything. Really, really helpful.
You need to know what's happening. And so you need to do the film analysis and start to use the right language to describe what's going on. So coming back to my slightly joking, speak to a child trauma psychologist. One of the things that you get from talking to a therapist is language to describe what's going on.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the point, is so that you can name things and go, okay, I know what these things are. And because you know what they are, you can start to make sense of them and start processing them.
Yeah.
That's what the 3 rules of fencing is about, is we have names for things. And so we can go, that's Lager.
Yeah.
They've launched an attack from in Lager.
Yep.
And at no point had they found the sword. So they're giving away 2 free tempo.
Yeah.
So it's not a fucking surprise that you got hit cleanly in response.
Yeah. Yeah. Or hit randomly,
Or,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. It's essentially, that's actually, I'm not sure if I've ever directly addressed this in the podcast because the podcast has actually experienced the development and refinement of the 3 rules kind of live over its kind of young episode life. Yep. We were like, oh my God.
It's sort of the second year of the podcast.
Yeah. And the 3 rules have actually evolved from when they were first made, and we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is going to make everyone's fencing way better, right? And we've gone a little bit past that to understand it's sort of not directly making everyone's fencing better. It's, as you say, simply just language to analyze fencing.
Yeah.
And that is what will be making everyone better.
And our experience was that it immediately made our fencing better. So we were like, this is going to make everyone's fencing better.
Yeah, but that's because we were always analyzing our fencing. We just never had language to do it.
Yeah.
That was concise and good and clear.
Specific.
And specific, very specific.
You should have picked literally any of the other sparring videos because they're all more zoomed in than this one.
All right, Jamie, get rid of this shit. All right. I did want to... you've distracted me. Hang on. No, that's okay. I was already distracted. There was a point that I wanted to run on from that. The 3 rules... Right. I actually wanted to kind of get to... with the 3 rules and the idea of creating security. Okay. Right. I've called this episode The Dry Facets. Those who aren't understanding German, Wir is 4, dry is 3. So we have the 3 facets. Again, Versetzen, because Woody doesn't know how to do the 4th one yet. So there's only 3 of them yet.
Scheitelhau works. That was the topic from last episode. Go listen to the last episode.
Right. It is... The discussion about this is actually a discussion about creating security in your fencing without relying on distance or speed or timing. You know, like you don't need distance, tempo, or speed. The 3 things, 3 cornerstones of fencing. and essentially, the 4 Versetzen.
Yeah.
Just a way to understand in kind of one of the most chaotic and insecure weapons in fencing, how to make yourself secure for a moment.
Yeah.
So that you can be close enough, like get close enough that you can then hit.
Yeah.
And I think part of what you and I have done by detaching the idea of an attack being actually hitting the opponent to just coming forward at the opponent is to understand that what we're really trying to achieve is security.
Yeah.
Some of these thoughts are coming because I just read Capofero again today. And man, he spends a long time talking about defense and how you essentially, like, to paraphrase it in a silly way, you defend at your opponent, kind of like Bart and Lisa Simpson getting closer to each other, like, I'm going to keep defending, and if you're in the way, I'm going to kill you. And then you just keep defending as you encroach on their space and ice them.
Right.
But actually, that is more or less what you are doing. You are creating your own secure bubble around you in which you have control of their weapon. Even if you're not touching their weapon, you have control of their weapon, the next action, and the space directly in front of you. And then you just move that forward at them.
Yeah.
Until a point at which your sword will connect with them.
Yeah. You move into space that you have control over.
Yeah.
And in that way, fencing continues to be trench warfare.
Yes. Yes. And like, so in a way, always chasing your security is kind of like a driving force for all of the fencing plays.
Yeah.
And so, like, the 3 Versetzen.
Well, actually, the 3 Versetzen fill what you're talking about here, right? That's why there's only the 3 for us.
Yeah, and not 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't understand how the 4th Versetzen gives you that security. where it's fairly clear with the other three.
Yeah.
Which, if you didn't listen to last episode, go listen to it. But also, that's Sverhau against Von Tag, Krumpau against Ox,
Yeah.
Schielhau against Flug and Longpoint. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then I'm really happy for you, because it means that you don't do longsword.
It's actually great news. This podcast is going to be all over the place.
That's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to love it. I'm actually very excited and distracted by Jamie over here busting out YouTube things.
Yeah. I like that. Like, you're probably going to ostracize like 2 or 3 listeners. I don't like this. I'm being sarcastic.
Well, I'm actually not going to ostracize anyone. The audio listeners will love it.
Okay.
So I've got some sparring footage
Yeah.
up right now of us fencing in the park in the shade. It's pretty cool fencing footage. One thing that I really liked about this day of sparring was, for context, I had just had my ass handed to me. Like last week, 7 days before
Yeah.
the footage, we did this fencing session. And it really annoyed me. Fully fucking bugged me, because I had just get good at fencing. Screw you. Can't believe I'm insulting me too. And I had great finds. I've literally got one of the best Cavazziones on earth. Fight me. It's so good. And I was using every tool that I had. Great distance, great timing, excellent Cavazziones, and I was getting iced. And I couldn't free my sword from your fucking sword.
Yeah.
And it was infuriating. And I knew that it had nothing to do with the fact that you've got big rings or fucking shit-ass massive quillions that are straight, and I hate them. And you're like, oh yeah, how cool are my big rings? And I was like, they're not the thing making me suck right now.
Yeah, but how cool are they?
And I think we had spoken about it. You're talking about angled guards and counter posture.
Yeah.
And right, this is how these ideas are connected with the angled postures with longsword. The angled sword is... have we already spoken about this on the podcast or not?
Just explain it again. It's fine.
The angled sword in rapier is goated. It's in fact necessary. You have to do it. And when I speak about angled, I'm not talking about the angled guard that we were seeing earlier, although you can do that.
It is one example.
The thing where like you've got your sword directly in front of you and you drop your hand low and you keep your point at the same height. That is an option, but I think its main benefit is that it hides your distance. And that's kind of it. I'm talking about these angled positions where you move your hands back and laterally and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, like Fabris's sort of kooky guards that people struggle to make sense of.
Right.
That's what you're talking about, and they're super necessary.
The foundational problem with keeping your sword extended and in front of you is that when your opponent finds it, you actually have no way of unfinding your sword.
Yeah.
If you move backwards, they can simply move forwards.
Yeah.
And put their strong wherever the fuck your weak goes.
Yeah, and that's what I was doing to you the week before the footage that's on the screen right now.
Yeah, and it was brutal. I had no response, and I lost pretty much every exchange. I think I got like 1, maybe 2 exchanges, and I didn't understand why.
The good news is most of the touches are off frame because you literally ran out of the camera frame every time.
Yeah, and in fact, I think we scored like 5 of them where it was just like, okay, I'm out of ring. The reason that you have angled guards is that your sword is completely found. You need to retract your sword completely out of the engagement.
Yeah.
And you need to basically look at where the threat's coming from, make your strong long or broad in that axis, and have your weak in Narnia so that it's unfindable.
Yeah.
And now you have all of Fabris's kooky guards. I've never looked at silver, but I've had people be like, oh, silver or Sweatnam. And I suspect they're all achieving exactly the same thing with those guards, where they all kind of look a bit silly and really identifiable. Yeah. That's what they're achieving.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a big feature of Thibaut as well. So we did talk about this last week really, really briefly.
Okay, yeah.
Last week. I think we uploaded 3 days ago.
We'll release this in a couple of days.
Yeah, it'll be a week.
Give the podcast time to breathe.
Yeah.
It will be scheduled tonight, though.
But yeah, we talked about this with regards to Thibaut also has all of these positions where they're quite angled, where the weak is not aimed at the opponent. One of the critical parts of any of these angled positions or withdrawn positions is that you can extend in one tempo. And I mentioned this briefly earlier. Like, sometimes you're going to extend with a cut, sometimes you're going to extend with the point. But you need to be able to bring the weak out of play.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to then make your strong an absolute nuisance. And that's what I was doing to you. When I was talking about Sawyer's fencing before, that was what I thought was his weakness. I mean, obviously he's fencing very well, but the thing I think is missing from his fencing is that he's very linear. And so if you can't create these angled positions, you can't capitalize on people just putting their weak in the wrong spot in quite the right way. You should have the ability, if someone puts their weak just somewhere dumb, where a lot of the time their straight line from where you are is covered.
Yeah.
Right? If their hand is somewhat extended with a rapier, it's quite difficult to just shoot an attack in. The strong is quite forward. Yeah. But if they put their weak somewhere dumb, you should be able to cover that position, put your weak somewhere free, and move forward at them and hit them after you've moved forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now that you're closer, their strong is going to be less employable.
Yeah. 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 And you'll either see that there's an opening for your weak to go through.
Yeah.
Or simply that you can actually just get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Because, you just have that. You'll just be able to go a bit closer.
Yeah. Yeah. I was ending up on Thursday about 2.5 feet away from most of the people that I was fencing a lot of the time. And so I'm landing strikes where my hand is basically as far forward as my lead shoulder because I wasn't trying to hit them with big direct thrust. I was coming in undercover and just making sure that there was nothing that they could do. They couldn't pull anything out of their ass. Absolutely not going to hit me. Great. Now I have a visually slightly kooky thrust or cut, but I'm completely secure.
Yeah. Right. You have reminded me of why I led us down this topic.
Right.
So if you had
What's gambling?
oh no, that's the wrong one.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah. If you have done that, then you have seen that Woody dropped a video about longsword stuff. And what I thought was really cool about that longsword video was the implication of what is the kind of first principles of longsword fencing? What is the threat that you are dealing with?
Yeah.
And I think in the way that rapier needs to learn from longsword about the actual threat of the situation. So I'm going to quickly summarize what I think is kind of fair. Rapier's got amazing hand protection, so you can just have the sword in the center, extended out. It's a massive threat. And a way to deal with that is to take your sword completely offline, put the strong in the way, and then now that the weak is unfindable and the strong is completely covering the situation, you can just go forward at the opponent. And they're going to have a really difficult time dealing with that.
Right.
Longsword has kind of the complete opposites, the yang to yin, you know, where the implicit threat is that you can have the hand, like that the hand, there's no hand protection. So the swords are really retracted and they're always in these crooked positions where the strong is directly in front of you and the weak is in Narnia.
You're sort of forced to time your extensions.
Right. But like, what are you solving?
Right.
What is actually, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And to me, I think a big reason of why you would do that is because a straight extension right down the middle is brutal.
Yeah. Right.
And Marty Fabs has already solved this.
Yeah.
He has already proven it.
And it's also in Lichtenauer. So they say when you're doing earnest fencing, you should be doing direct, like simple direct thrusts. Like it's fucking in Danzig.
Yeah.
And so you have this whole little thrust game that's built off the Sprecht fencer and like being in long point. That is what Marty Fabs has perfectly solved with his system of fencing.
Yeah.
But then the response.
Right. Well, the response is all of the guards, all of the Mastercuts is understanding how taking a crooked position where your strong is long or broad or wide allows you to, in fact, just deal with a straight extension threat that exists presently without there being a weapon in the center line, right? Doesn't need to be there for that threat to be real. So you deal with that and now you are secure. Yeah. You have the security that you need so you can take a step forward. And the moment that you get a tempo to just launch your own direct thrust, or you are close enough to simply just extend the line so it's direct in one tempo, you are now you have the security, you have the attack, and it's good. And then you don't need to be crazy smashy or intense or anything like that.
Right.
I don't know.
But if you don't have that security, then you've got, and this is what we see in sort of modern competition longsword.
Yeah.
Is you have a lot of it gets called the ballistic passing step. It's basically a flesh. Or lunging based footwork. So we have a lot of launching ourselves at the opponent.
Yeah.
And in that paradigm, then a really basic parry riposte game is going to work really well.
Yeah.
And in the modern rapier competition scene, a parry riposte paradigm works really well as well.
Yeah.
And the reason for this is the same reason. It's that those types of ballistic attacks are what Fabris would term flinging the sword. They inherently contain at least 2 tempo. So we've got the launch of the attack and the final delivery of the attack. And every time you're doing that attack, it's at least 2 tempo. Or you're locked into doing 2 tempo is what I should say. Yeah. So you might launch it where you can arrive on the first tempo, but you're still locked into doing your second tempo. So if your opponent just retreats for the first tempo to match you, they can still parry and they can still riposte immediately afterwards. And so we see that sort of basic parry riposte game working really, really well, even in very high level competition. Because we've got all of these sword flinging actions happening.
Right.
And that's not a style of fencing that's really addressed in Lichtenauer, and it is addressed in Fabris in a fairly short chapter in the introduction. Which is to say, it's either considered not worth speaking about at all, Lichtenauer, or utter dog shit, Fabris.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is worth speaking about because it is dangerous, right? You need to deal with someone who's doing that. But as soon as you can, As soon as you register, I don't need to score right now. I can just parry, and you have no fucking follow up.
Yeah.
Then you just parry.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of the time, if you watch tournament footage of me, my fencing is very ugly, in especially, just in a lot of my competition footage. And it's because people will launch a big, stupid attack at me, and you'll see my defense a lot of the time is just to run away and do a really simple parry.
Yeah.
And then I'll decide whether or not I can attack them now.
Yeah.
And
Because that's all that's required.
That's
Nothing
all-
more fancy. Yeah.
you don't have to have a cool blade action. You, in fact, don't have the opportunity to do a cool blade action. It's the wrong
thing to
action
do.
selection. You should do a simple, really basic windscreen wiper parry
Yeah.
because they're flinging themselves at you. So you can do a windscreen wiper parry, push them out of line,
Yeah.
step back a bit if you need to,
Yeah.
and then hit them.
Yeah.
But that's not the problem that Lichtenau is trying to solve. It's not the problem that Fabris is trying to solve.
Right.
So what's the attack look like
What is
for the problem that they're trying to solve?
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, right. And so everyone adopting longsword guards in tournaments where your sword, for example, is at your shoulders in what's that called?
That's Vomtag.
Vomtag, right? Why are you there? Like actually though, why have that stance? And then why change that to fucking the one where it's low?
Flug.
I'm such a longsworder. Why change that to Flug and then back to Vomtag? Why do any of that?
Right.
Because like both of those positions are solving something else that is not present in the current interaction.
Right.
If the person in front of you is launching these ballistic attacks by like their idea of an attack is like a flesh or a lunge or anything ballistic, then you no longer need to have any guard at all.
So if we take any of the really good competitive longsworders at the moment,
Yeah.
like Miro or Steve Chaney, they are Miro more so is, and Martin Fabian, same thing. Obviously, he's been off the competitive scene for a while, but doesn't matter. Quite point forward most of the time. Steve actually uses Vomtag to pretty good effect.
Yeah, fair. I hung shit on Vomtag. I actually think that it's reasonable. But
Vomtag is great. I didn't read that as your argument at all.
Yeah.
The question, why are you there, is what is it serving you?
Yeah, what's the point of being there?
I actually think that Steve's use of Vomtag is quite good.
Yeah.
Because he's keeping his hands well out of the way so they're not a target.
Yeah.
So that he's taller than his opponents.
Yeah.
So he doesn't actually need to solve secure advancement as readily. Like he's taller than I am. I think he's like 6'5".
Yeah, okay.
So he can get into a position where his basic passing step with a relative amount of control is making a good attack. So it's sensible for him to be in Vomtag because it keeps his hands withdrawn, so he can't be disrupted by cheeky hand sniping actions.
Yeah, and then his strong is relatively tall.
Yeah.
And so it can deal with most basic thrusts or anything.
Yeah, and the weak is coming over the top. Oberhau is a great cut.
Yeah.
It's really, really good, and Steve uses them to great effect.
Yeah.
But you look at a fencer like Miro or Martin Fabian, the hands are more forward because the point is going to be applied more of the time.
Yep.
And I actually think that is the correct meta response to current longsword fencing.
Yep.
Unless you're, like Steve, abnormally tall.
Yep.
You're
Because
fully on-
Marty is just like a relatively normal height dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not super tall. He's tall-ish.
Yeah, but he's not
He's not
taller
tall.
than
He's not
is-
Mr. Tall.
Yeah.
And so he's not really doing tall guy fencing.
Yeah.
He's doing a good direct thrust.
Yeah.
And Anton Gahudovic started doing the good direct thrust thing either around the same time or before Marty. We met them at the same time in 2017.
Yeah.
And they're doing, that thrust game is a good meta response to the current fencing because you don't. you don't need to make a secure approach because the opponent isn't making a stable threat.
Yeah.
There's not actually a stable threat of single tempo extension.
Yeah.
So for Steve, being in Vom Tag makes heaps of sense because he's going to get to the point where he can just make a singular extension.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really good. Whereas if you're... Yeah.
Right. And so the stable threat is really... Okay, this is kind of where...
We've sort of been circling to this point.
Yeah. The point of so why do you do any of your longsword positions? Well, so that you can securely take space from somebody of the likes of Steve Chaney.
Yeah.
Or Miro.
Yeah.
Or Marty Fabs. Like, because you actually have to treat every opponent as if they are them.
Yeah.
So it is sort of dangerous as somebody who would consider themselves an average or short height to go, all right, well, I'm just going to do good kind of point generally forward, sword super free and retracted game against
one of the best in the world.
One of the best in the world who's much taller than me and has a huge range advantage.
And a really fast extension.
Yeah.
It's a very efficient extension.
Yeah. So, like, that's not going to win you anything.
Yeah.
So you actually do have to adopt one of the guards.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to understand its function.
Yeah.
And essentially earn yourself enough security. And all you need is just enough security that you can take you can just own the space directly in front of you. And then you're just going to enter into it.
Yeah. With a placing step.
With a placing step. You're not going to put your weight in there.
You're not going to put your weight in there with the step. Please separate them. Oh my God. And then as soon as the foot lands, you're either going to be under attack or not, and then you can shift the weight.
Yeah.
So the footage that we had up earlier of you and I fencing.
Yeah. Is that coming back up? Is that what we're asking?
Yes, please. Scrub us to like the first minute.
All right. Put that back up. Oh, yeah, nice. We got the FA bounce back.
Yeah. So my approach here is how this works. I do little place, weight comes forward. Habibi disrupts me a little bit, so I expand my stance, but my front foot stays in place. Unless I need it to change.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to show.
Nice.
You can be quite sedate in that approach because when I feel like I'm under threat, I'm just expanding my stance out again. Mm. And so if you were to launch a fast attack, I can pull my weight back quickly and even jump backwards. And that'll be fine. That'll be a good distance pull.
Right. The point of being sedate is not to say that it should be done slowly.
Or sedately.
Or sedately. It's simply just to really highlight how much time you have. That you can literally be sedate and you have so much time that escaping somebody launching an attack at you
It's not actually a problem.
is not a problem.
Yeah.
Because there is that much like room in the movement and the actions that like you can simply, because you haven't committed anything forward, somebody launching at you, it's really, humans are really quick at reacting, so you can just put your leg back a little bit and lean back just enough.
Yeah.
In a really chilled, sedate way. And you're going to be fine. And then, you can take that to your, well, we don't need to imagine this. You look at literally all Olympic fencing and they are doing this at the highest level. They're doing these micro adjustments of distance and all this sort of stuff already.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a foilist's first response to being under the march, so someone is marching at them, a lot of the time, the first thing you'll see is the back foot start to creep out.
Yeah.
So before the front foot moves, before the weight shifts, they just give themselves more space because they want to be ready for the idea that they could retreat if the attack comes.
Yeah.
or that they still want to own that space.
Right. Well, because like
And
you
they still
actually
do.
don't know what is happening with that march. It might be a shit march and then
Yeah.
you hit them. It might be a fake out. It might be anything. And so reacting immediately to it when you have the option to just react without commitment
Yeah.
is like, why not just choose the thing that has flexibility?
Yeah. Whereas if you jump backwards or do a classic like middle weighted shuffle back, all your whole base has moved back and your weight has moved back, and you just you now have to fence from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like HEMA rings are small, man. Like
Yeah. You don't have room to escape.
you don't have room to just give up all this distance. I do think you should be moving backwards to deal with a lot of attacks.
Yeah.
But don't just freely hand people your ring space. like the rings at SoCal are tiny. They're
Yeah.
so small, and everyone's going, "Oh no, they're huge," and that's because they're used to even smaller rings, which is a tragedy.
insane.
It's insane. It's not because those are reasonably sized rings. They're small. And if you think they're big, it's because the size you're used to is too small again. Actually, to the credit of Scholar Vic and the Ides of March competition, they had long, wide pists, and it was good.
It was awesome. There was so much room to back out.
And there was a good bit of pist width to get a bit of angle play going on. Would I like the rings to be bigger still? Yeah, sure. I like a bit more lateral space. It's fun.
Yeah. But barely anybody ringed out. And if it was literally to bleed off momentum.
Yeah.
There was no...
Yeah, any grappling that happened was because someone belligerently really rushed in.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of grappling that I see happen in especially American competitions, but you see it here in Australia as well, and you see it in Europe as well. I'm just picking on America for having small rings.
It's just because you've just seen a bunch of their tournament footage.
Yeah, that's why. But in a lot of American competitions, you see grappling happen because the person doesn't want to back out of the ring. They feel like they can't retreat.
And the person attacking, I do believe, is not expecting to be suddenly grappling because you've literally launched like one attack. Maybe you're doing your follow-up and they've just stopped all of a sudden.
Yeah, like it's not a normal, sensible fencing response to be grappling.
Yeah, and so, but now you just are because you're
are.
so fucking close.
Yeah, and the other option for that person was, like, their options were grapple or ring out.
Yeah, yeah, and at least to grapple, you might get a hold, you might even get a point.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I suppose their other option was the classic Hail Mary parry to the belly. Where we regularly see a double.
On that note,
Subscribe to our Patreon.
I think that's going to be the episode.
That's the whole episode. All right.
Yeah.
Tune in next time. How long was that?
An hour and 12.
Oh, it's not bad.